This is the story of 432 Park Avenue, a 96-story needle of glass and concrete piercing the Manhattan skyline, where billionaires paid tens of millions for a dream and got a nightmare. Monthly costs can exceed $25,000, elevators that trap you for hours, walls that creak like the galley of a ship, and nearly 1,900 cracks snaking across the facade of what was supposed to be the most prestigious address in the Western Hemisphere. When plans for 432 Park Avenue were revealed in October 2011, developer Harry Macklowe called it monumental, a capstone to his career. On paper, it was exactly that. Designed by renowned architect Rafael Viñoly in collaboration with SLCE Architects as architect of record, the tower would rise 1,396 feet into the sky, making it the tallest residential building in the world at the time of its completion in December 2015. The building sits on Park Avenue between East 57th Street and East 56th Street in the heart of what real estate agents reverently call Billionaires Row. When 157 opened in 2014 as the first super tall on Billionaires Row, it set the template that 432 Park Avenue would follow and eventually surpass. The projected value of all its units combined was over $3 billion, the highest aggregate sales price of any building in New York City. The design itself was audacious. 432 Park Avenue has a height to width ratio of 15:1. To put that in perspective, a standard ruler standing upright has a ratio of 12:1. This building is skinnier than a ruler, proportionally speaking, and it stretches nearly a quarter mile into the sky. New York City's floor area ratio zoning and the practice of purchasing air rights from neighboring buildings enabled these pencil towers to reach such extreme heights on small footprints. The developers positioned it as the ultimate status symbol. The penthouse sold for an eye-watering $70 million. The median home price in New York City hovers around $850,000. The average New Yorker would have to work for 800 years to afford that penthouse. For a moment, the world's ultra-wealthy bought in. Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez purchased a unit on the 36th floor in 2018. Casino billionaire Lawrence Ho paid $65 million for a unit on the 83rd floor. Saudi retail magnate Fawaz Al-Hokair paid $88 million for the penthouse on the 96th floor. The building wasn't just selling apartments, it was selling a fantasy. But behind the fantasy, problems were already festering. The first thing residents noticed was the sound. At those heights, wind does not just blow, it howls. When the wind hit 432 Park Avenue, a phenomenon engineers call vortex shedding causes the building to sway. Not a subtle settling noise. Residents described it as sounding like being inside the galley of a ship in a storm. The building's slender frame, that elegant ratio of 15:1 that made it so visually striking, also made it extremely susceptible to swaying. Unlike Central Park Tower, now the world's tallest residential building, or the pencil-thin Steinway Tower at 111 West 57th Street, 432 Park Avenue lacked adequate damping systems. Structural engineer Derek Kelly of WSP built wind tunnel models of Midtown Manhattan to predict forces on the tower, but the reality proved worse than the simulations. A TikTok account that became known as the 432 Park Avenue hate page joked that a building swaying should be reserved for amusement park rides, not structures designed for billionaires. Then came the elevators. Because the building sways significantly in high winds, the elevators were programmed to slow down during those periods. The result was residents found themselves trapped inside elevators for hours at a time. Hours. In a building where some people are paying monthly common charges of $17,000, and that is before taxes, which can run another $15,000 on top. The sounds in the elevators were just the beginning. Water damage began appearing throughout the building. Millions of dollars worth of damage came from plumbing and mechanical failures. The electrical issues were far worse. During one incident, a contractor arrived to fix pervasive water leaks. He began drilling through the concrete floor without any guidance from the developers about where electrical wiring had been placed. He cut into a cable. The resulting explosion launched him several feet through the air. That was allegedly the second electrical explosion in just 3 years. On Labor Day 2021, the entire building had to be evacuated for 2 days so the electrical system could undergo extensive emergency repairs. Even the trash chute became a problem because the building is so extraordinarily tall. Garbage dropped from the upper floors would accelerate through the vertical chute and hit the bottom with such force that residents on the lower floors described it as sounding like a bomb going off. By September 2021, the condominium board had seen enough. They filed a lawsuit against CIM Group and Macklowe Properties, the developers. An engineer hired by the board discovered an alleged 1,500 construction defects. A later survey pushed that number to 1,893. Among them were over 24 issues classified as life safety concerns. The board sought $125 million in damages, citing floods, faulty elevators, noise disturbances, and electrical explosions. The developers denied most claims. CIM Group called the safety complaints vastly exaggerated and described the lawsuit as full of falsehoods and hyperbole. They maintained that 432 Park Avenue is Manhattan's premier residence, the result of hiring world-class talent. The evidence kept mounting. By early 2024, the lawsuit had grown to include 4 million pages of documents. Then, in April 2025, residents filed a second lawsuit, this time targeting the architecture and engineering firms involved in the project. This suit focused on the facade. Nearly 1,900 cracks had been discovered in the exterior, along with spalling and other deterioration that was allowing water to infiltrate the building and corrode the steel rebar reinforcing the concrete columns. The residents sought $165 million in damages. The most damning allegation was the cover-up. The complaint claims developers repeatedly rejected recommendations to fix the facade issues. Engineers had suggested applying an opaque elastomeric covering to prevent air and water infiltration. The developers allegedly ignored this because it would significantly alter the building's appearance and make it less appealing to the world's billionaires. They chose aesthetics over structural integrity. The financial fallout has been devastating. Property insurance premiums for the building have skyrocketed by roughly 300%. Some residents face upwards of $82,000 in late fees and interest from increases in common charges. Repair costs are estimated at $100 million. The resale market tells the clearest story of all. Of the 16 owners who resold their apartments between 2021 and 2025, after the structural issues became public, 10 of them took a loss. That Saudi penthouse tells the whole story. Fawaz Al-Hokair bought it for $88 million, listed it at $169 million, and by May 2024 had slashed the price to $105 million. On top of the purchase price, the listing noted monthly common charges of over $24,000 and monthly taxes of nearly $15,000. That's almost $39,000 a month just to maintain the unit, before your mortgage, before your groceries, before you even turn on a light. The building sits increasingly empty. Nearly half the apartments in the tallest towers along Billionaires Row are unoccupied. At night, dozens of darkened floors turn these glittering status symbols into vertical ghost neighborhoods. Currently, 12 apartments at 432 Park Avenue are listed for sale and 2 are for rent. Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez sold their unit within a year of buying it, banking a profit of $2 million and getting out just before the walls started closing in. They may have been the lucky ones. 432 Park Avenue was supposed to be the pinnacle of luxury living. Instead, it became a case study in what happens when ambition outpaces engineering, when aesthetics override safety, and when the people building the dream have more interest in selling it than maintaining it. It is the tallest residential building in the world, yet its residents can't trust the elevators, can't sleep through the creaking, can't stop the water from pouring in, and can't sell their way out without losing millions. The building still stands on Billionaires Row, skinnier than a ruler, taller than anything around it, swaying in the wind. A monument, just not the kind Harry Macklowe had in mind.